Hello, good evening. My name is Nishette Black-Burke, and I'm the Chief of Family and Community Partnerships for Hartford Public Schools, one of the largest urban districts here in Connecticut. So thank you for joining us today, and we appreciate your partnership. So I'm pleased to be sharing with you an update to our revised three-year operating plan aligned to our district model of excellence, the DME. It's a living document that's evolving over time, and we're asking for your feedback on the plan to help us ensure that it meets your students' needs. It's important to us that we hear your perspective as we continue our planning process so that it's reflected in our program design and ultimately in our federal funding application. I want to thank each and every one of you for your patience and understanding. We have been through a tough 13 months in education, and so we're looking ahead to next year, understanding that it may be difficult, but we're going to remain focused. But as a district, we must plan now to meet funding application deadlines and be fully prepared for the future. So for tonight, our agenda, just three things. We're going to, one, do an update on the strategic operating plan. We're going to talk through our draft plan engagement and survey, and then just share some next steps, and then that's it. So I'll give a short presentation, and again, we'll hear about your students' dreams, and then close on next steps. So the District Model of Excellence, or the DME, is the vision for the district that we set together beginning in 2017. It names what we care most about as a district and the priority areas we plan to focus on. So teaching and learning, family and community partnerships, school culture and climate, and operational effectiveness. These four priorities working together help ensure that we meet the needs of the whole student, because we know that students have academic, social, emotional needs. So back in 2017-18, we partnered with our families and staff over many months to develop the DME. District leaders attended more than 100 engagement and feedback sessions, asking you what mattered. Then in the summer of 2018, we developed a three-year strategic operating plan to guide how we focused our time and attention and resources. So here we are 3 years later, again, updating our strategic operating plan to guide us for the next 3 years. So this next strategic operating plan will be grounded in the DME, the District Model of Excellence, and we remain committed to the priorities and the values of our community and what our community has told us matters most. So let's get into the details and what we aim to do to bring the DME to reality. It is a set of key steps and actions for our leaders to follow and implement over the next few years, tongue-tied. It is a set of key steps or actions for our leaders to follow and implement across the district over the next 3 years. In addition to our existing budget, the plan will also guide us on how we spend COVID relief funds that we receive from the government. So hearing from you, our community, has been and continues to be a critical component of developing this updated strategic operating plan. We have been having similar conversations over the course of the spring, and we will continue to talk with stakeholders over the full 3 years of the plan. So we are asking all of you, families, staff, community organizations, to share reactions to the plan and how well it meets student needs, family, community, and staff needs. So input across the entire Hartford Public Schools community, understanding our students' needs, and then of course, research-based practices that will best support our students and staff. Our community listening tour is not as intense as it was in the DME development process, in part because we are operating through a pandemic and moving quickly to prepare ourselves for the next phase. And we also want to honor what we've learned from our community through the hard work that was already done in building the DME. What we believe and care about most remains the same. We are evolving the work and goals to achieve the vision over the next 3 years. And so far, we have learned from our fall learning experience survey, discussions with our principals, union representatives, staff, community partners, students, and our families. So as we started updating the plan, it was important that we understand the main benefit we want to have for our students. To do that, we need to understand where we are right now. So when looking at this piece of data, it refers estimating the total learning loss by the end of the year. And so you can see from the graph here where our students are and what learning loss could be by the end of the year. So even though we are working hard to support students through the COVID pandemic, we know that this is difficult for them. So based on today's attendance and learning data, we expect students will need extensive support next year, especially for our most vulnerable students. Across the nation, the loss of learning has been largest in schools that serve mostly students of color, perhaps up to twice as much. It's particularly concerning in math, where researchers believe students of color may have lost as much as 3 to 5 months of learning, compared to white students who may have lost just 1 to 3 months. And the analysis shows that if we don't take serious action, our students of color could lose 6 to 12 months of learning on average by the end of the year. So this is why for the next 3 years, we'll be laser focused on supporting our students' academic and social emotional needs. And we'll double down on our support for staff and families so they can better support our students. We will be guided by the 4 major goals to help everyone achieve their full potential. The first goal we'll set is increasing our 4-year cohort graduation rates, which is an essential step for preparing our students for success in college, career, and beyond. Last year, our 4-year cohort graduation rate was just under 69% as the pandemic hit in the spring. Over the next several years, we will aim to increase this to at least 83% of students graduating within 4 years by the end of 2024. So goal number 1 is increasing that graduation rate. Goal number 2 is that we'll set a 3rd grade reading proficiency because research and experience shows that early literacy is a key for long-term student success. 3rd grade reading is especially important because it's when students shift from learning to read, decoding and using their knowledge of the alphabet, to reading to learn, reading to absorb and understand the information. 2 years ago in 2018-19, about a quarter of our 3rd graders met reading proficiency, as measured by the state's end of year SBAC test. Our goal is to increase that by 4.4% annually, so that by the end of 2024, more than 48% of our 3rd graders are proficient readers. The 3rd goal we'll set is 8th grade math proficiency, because we know that it's a critical transition point into high school math. And we know that math is where many students struggled the most in remote and hybrid learning. 2 years ago, about 15% of our 8th graders met math proficiency as measured by the end of year state SBAC test. Over the next several years, our goal is to increase that math proficiency annually by 4.9%, so that by the end of 2024, nearly 46% of our 8th graders are proficient in math. We will also set a student growth target because while proficiency levels matter, we also know that how much a student's learning grows over the course of the year is also very important to setting them on a path to success. Our final major goal will be to reduce chronic absenteeism, to ensure more students are in school and engaged. Students are chronically absent if they miss 10% or more of the days of the school year, meaning 18 or more absences out of our 182 school days. We ended last year with nearly 28% of our students being chronically absent as measured by daily attendance. In Hartford and across the country, attendance has been especially difficult during the pandemic with remote learning, competing priorities outside of school, and many other factors. We've seen chronic absenteeism rise nearly 45% right now. We are focused on decreasing that as much as possible by the end of the year. We anticipate that our efforts to re-engage students and returning to fully in-person learning will help greatly improve attendance. We aim to reduce chronic absenteeism rates annually by 1.3% so that fewer than 13% of students are chronically absent by the end of 2024. So some of the things that we have heard from students directly about where their needs are: I need extra help in school to catch up so I can graduate on time. Students sharing that more emotional and mental health support during COVID, due to COVID, get the education that I need so that I'm successful in college, and to be understanding of a child's situation out of school and not to give up on a student and to focus more on math skills. The goals we set are ambitious, but with the right set of collective action and targeted resources, we believe as a district we can achieve them over the next 3 years. Our priorities and vision will guide us over the next 3 years in achieving our goals. Our 4 priorities remain the priorities called out in the DME, as you can see. We've added descriptions to the priorities and added a vision statement for each to help describe the excellence we strive for. High quality teaching and learning. Our vision is that we prepare students academically, leading to life, college, career, and success by taking bold action to understand and meet student needs in academic recovery and acceleration. Welcoming culture and nurturing climate. Our vision for that is to cultivate a learning environment that is inclusive, innovative, collaborative, engaging by ensuring buildings are safe, engaging learning environments. Our second 2 priorities are engaging family and community partnerships. Our vision for that is to extend student learning opportunities through partnerships between school, home, and the community through engaged family and community partnerships. And finally, our 4th priority is skillful staff and effective operations with a vision to maintain a high level of operational effectiveness with skilled staff, modern facilities, financial integrity, and accountability systems. So under each of the DME's priorities, we have a set of strategies that we will implement over the next 3 years. Here are some examples of what that work might look like for our students and families next year. In priority number 1, high quality teaching and learning, targeted support to meet all students' academic and social, emotional, and extracurricular needs, more support for student transitioning into high school and then into college or career. Priority 2, welcoming culture and nurturing climate, additional interventions and enrichments, more access to technology for teaching and learning. And priority 3, engaging family and community partnerships, additional and improved ways to communicate and partner with families and the community, and extend student learning through real world opportunities, experiences like internships. And number 4, skillful staff and effective operations to recruit and train high quality teachers, leaders, and staff, and ensure all school buildings are safe and use good financial practices for sustainability. The district's plan, excuse me, the district's plan will inform what we include in our application for federal COVID relief grants. Those grants have requirements for how we spend the funds, including 5 priorities from the state: learning acceleration, academic renewal and student enrichment, a family and community connection, social, emotional, mental health for staff and students, strategic use of technology, and staff development in the digital divide, and building safe and healthy schools. The state's priorities help us understand what the grant will and will not pay for. As you can see, the state priorities and district priorities are very similar. That puts the district in a good position for requesting the funding. Next, we'd like to hear from you on what matters most to your students and families, and how the district can support that as we continue to update our plans. So what we're going to ask you to do, and you can provide the feedback in the email that will be at the end of this, but I want to share a couple of questions with you as you think about the information that you received. So close your eyes and imagine your child's future. What do you picture that they leave our schools knowing and being able to do? Thinking of your hopes and dreams for your student, what do we need to do to make that possible for your student? Thinking about your hopes and your dreams of your student and the needs of your student, which priority area is most important to you to achieve those? And would you have expected to see anything that is not in the district's 2021-24 goals and strategies? So as you think about hopes, dreams, the big picture, anything else that you would consider putting into the plan, we're going to ask you to complete a short survey and also provide your feedback in the email that will be provided. So thank you so much for taking the time this evening. We look forward to your input as we did through the DME process. We want to hear from you and we want to hear your voice. Thank you so much and have a great evening.